So my dad kind of thinks that I'm a communist. He almost said it, basically. And it came after a discussion where I was actually questioning capitalism. If you know me long term, then you would know that I have always been a diehard capitalist. And this has changed over the last 3 years as I started drinking ayahuasca. I mean, I'm not a communist. Maybe I'm a little bit of a hippie, but I think this is a very important conversation because looking back at how I was back then, I was just 100% certain that, well, diehard capitalism is the only solution, because what is the alternative? Communism, right? Or socialism, which is, the waiting room to communism. What I was saying to my dad was that growth is good, productivity is good, but when the hell is it enough? Because I think that today, in this day and age, I mean right now, here in 2025, we are at what a lot of people are describing as late stage capitalism. And I want to get into that topic, but because I think that this is the problem with capitalism. I don't have any solution to this, but I think we should be mindful about this concept. So I grew up in a family, a wealthy family. I mean, my parents, they've done well. My dad was a lawyer, my mom had her own company, and it was always expensive, trips, vacations, and nothing was ever missing. That kind of life is great, I think everybody should live a life of abundance, but I realized that this approach to life, and this is not just, my family, this is general in society, that it is very much a life of materialism that we worship. It is about a nice car, it is about a big house, it's about the things you can achieve by having money. So in a way you have to worship money to get the things. So you're worshiping money. I would vote for this political party called Liberal Alliance in Denmark, which was like no taxes or low taxes and, less government and all that. And I would go to their, parties and wear a suit, all this. And it was always in the name of productivity, that we need to produce more, that growth is not just good, but it's essential. And so my life was just completely consumed by I was in chains. I was so obsessed with achieving success. So I would be drinking champagne and, buying things I couldn't really afford, kind of embody success by looking like it. Even though I didn't have any money, I would be working shitty jobs. But, fake it till you make it. I mean, it started earlier than my 20s. It started already, from childhood, that you need to have a good life, you need money, you need all this, you need a big house, you need a big car, you need luxury vacations, you need nice clothing. When I was in my 20s and I lived in Copenhagen, away from parents and all this, it became, my goal to achieve this success. I really didn't know better, but I thought that if you just get money, then everything is fine. And so this has followed me all the way up to, a couple of years ago, when I started to seeing these things in a different light. Because society is really all about hedonism in a way. I was actually seeing myself as a hedonist. I was glorifying hedonism as the only right thing, because, I mean, why are we here if we're not enjoying life? And how do you enjoy life? You enjoy life by drinking your mind out, eating at fancy restaurants and buying stuff that makes you look good and feel good for a few moments. Of course, there's nothing wrong with enjoying life and just indulging. I think that's a wonderful part of life. But when it becomes the only thing, then you will probably go downhill eventually. Some kind of addiction will take over, whether it's sex, food, more money, power, alcohol, which was with me. Alcohol was my downfall. Basically, when gratitude is not part of your everyday life, when you're not truly grateful, you know, in the sense that you actually are aware of it, you tell yourself, I'm grateful for this, grateful for this meal, I'm grateful for all this, then you will just run an autopilot, and you will, you know, slowly your boundaries will be moved, you know, where a Maserati is not enough. Now you need a Bentley and a Hummer and a G-Wagon, you know. So it's just more and more and more. And I saw this actually being a thing in my life, especially when we started traveling around the world. So I sold my apartment and in Copenhagen, and we became full-time travelers around the world, and we were staying mainly at five-star hotels, luxury Airbnbs and villas. Of course it was cool, I was enjoying it, but most of the time I was so drunk that I can hardly remember it. Thank God I have videos of it, because we were doing YouTube videos of it. It went from being... Your blog. Hey, subscribe! It was cool in the beginning, but then slowly I started scrutinizing, you know, a five-star hotel. Like, this could be better. That is not so great, you know. I started just focusing on the negative in general. And suddenly I wasn't really enjoying it. It was just like, this could be better. When you have that approach, it might as well be a hostel. Of course, a hostel would be completely detrimental to me at that time, but it would be the same joy going into a five-star hotel as anyone would, or a normal person would feel going into a hostel, if that's what they're used to, you know. One of the challenges when you are living life like this is that subconsciously you feel, you know, unhappy, but this is supposed to be happiness, right? I mean, this is what society kind of told you that would fulfill you, and it's a void you can't fill. And I really understand, you know, how rich people can be super miserable. When I was young, I was like, I never understood how you could be miserable when you had $1 billion. Like, how is that possible? And basically humans, they're just phenomenal at adjusting to their environment. So if you are living in a mansion, it's cool the first couple of weeks or months, but it becomes every day at some point. And when that day comes, then what? All of this I'm saying is really just to paint a picture that capitalism and at some point it goes wrong. There is a point in time where it's good, you know. If you take a company and the company starts up and it's growing and it's expanding, it has its soul, you know. Maybe there are 50 employees, but then at some point it becomes a corporation. Then they have stakeholders, and then they have to, you know, increase stakeholder value every year, and suddenly it just becomes a thing of money. And we're seeing this today. If you look at a lighter from the 1930s, just look at how beautiful it was back then. When you made a lighter, it was not just to light a cigarette. It was a piece of art. You could look at it. You could have it in your pocket. It'll be on the table. Exposé. Today, you have a big plastic lighter. Buy and throw away. You can light a pack of cigarettes if you haven't lost it before you're done with that pack. And this is my problem with capitalism. We are at a point now where you go to the supermarket and, well, this is also inflation. Now it gets a little bit economical, but you buy 100 grams of chicken in the supermarket for €5. Now it's €6 and you get 80 grams of chicken. And this is really the essence of capitalism, but certainly also inflation, which is part of it. So basically, what I've come to realize is that it's all just been a chase for the wrong reasons, because there is nothing wrong with a Rolex watch, but I remember when I bought my first Rolex, I was just so obsessed with getting that Rolex watch and kind of, wave it around. Yeah, I'm good enough. And this is the same today, where people, especially young people, girls, they save up 10K for a Chanel bag, guys, they save up 10K for a Rolex watch, because then they are good enough. And because you feel like you need this external validation, you have to earn the money. Then you have to get the job, you have to get, work from morning to evening. This is why a lot of people, they work jobs they don't like, because they have to earn the money. Because the idea of living a frugal life, or a life that is not, completely dominated by buying things to impress neighbors or just keep up with the Joneses, is quite, yeah. Once I figured this out, it was like, wow, I don't actually need a lot to really enjoy life. That's why I said to my dad that growth is good, but how much growth do we need? If there's never anything that, like any level that is enough, then how will it end? And I think that's the main point, that can we just not live in a world where corporations, they literally design their products to break within a year or two so we can buy new ones? Apple, for example, I'm a slave to Apple because I need their products for my job. I can't work on a Windows computer. Whatever, they do the same. So it's general. It's a theme. It's a trend. It's just sad, man. Because when my dad, he sees me as a communist, he doesn't really think I'm a communist, but kind of, he thinks hippies are communists. And I'm a hippie now, I guess. What I want is real food. I want just a Mongolian yurt painted in some nice colors, wrapped in nature, with an outdoor kitchen, with a little roof, with a toilet of composite, whatever, palm trees, exotic fruit trees in abundance. I can pick my own papaya fruit, and no neighbors, just in nature, walking barefoot. This is what I have come to realize is what fulfills you, Although I'm not living that life yet. Of course, I say no neighbors. I don't mean no people. I mean community. You know about the Blue Zones. There's a Netflix show, if you haven't seen it, but also books, and they talk about these select areas around the world where people are just living much longer. They are just healthy, happy, and they don't have diseases. And what they have is exactly what I have finally come to the conclusion is all that I need in life. Real food, love, community, and shelter. So that's it, man. That's all you need in this world. And the cool thing is that when you realize this, you can finally relax. You can finally sit down, just look at a tree and enjoy it and be grateful for it. But this idea of sitting down and staring at a tree has become so foreign to us humans that we're not even capable of it, because we have to be productive. We have to do something. I'm certainly guilty of this myself. I am really, really struggling with just staring out on the ocean for an extended time, or going to bed without my phone and all that. Ram Dass, he says that in the end, all we will ever do is sit around the fire. What is it that we are actually achieving by running so fast in the mouse wheel, the hamster wheel? Is that living, Are you living more when you are, the CEO of a top 500 Fortune company? Are you living more than the guy who's just picking his own grown tomatoes? So Dad, I am not a communist, at least not in the way that you think a communist is, because in a way I am a communist. And you know what? The true original meaning of a communist is a guy who lives in a community. Back when we had small tribes where there were maybe 50 to 100, 150 people in a community. Everyone served a purpose. Somebody was growing the potatoes, somebody was picking berries, somebody was building shelter. There was no money involved. It was an exchange of work, and combined that created a community that was sustainable. Is it communism back then? Also, yeah, I guess, but it's not communism from a top-down regime where millions of people have to follow orders by a few selected. So, yeah, I'm a communist, but by the old definition. I am rambling, but I love it. See you in the next video. Yeah, subscribe.